There's a moment in life that doesn't come with an announcement. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't come with a very dramatic scene. No one will pull you aside and explain it in the way that they really can. And what I'm talking about, it's the day that you realize that nobody's coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not a boss, a partner, or even a lucky break in things. And at first, that realization doesn't feel empowering. It feels very scary, very heavy, right? When you're younger, there's always someone above you, right? Someone setting the schedule for you, someone giving you instructions, someone catching you when things go wrong. So even when life was very hard, it felt contained. It felt like you had a direction to go in, right? But then one day you look around and you realize that the responsibility is all yours now and the consequences are all yours. The direction is yours too. And suddenly there's no safety net that you can see. And that's when people usually start to panic, is when they have nothing to fall on to, and it feels like they're just free falling. It hurts because it forces honesty. You can't blame circumstances forever. You can't wait for motivation to show up. You can't assume someone else will fix what you avoid. And it's very uncomfortable because waiting feels safer than choosing things at times. Waiting lets you believe that once things change, I'll change. But life doesn't really work that way, right? Nothing will change until you do. So when this realization hits, people usually can go one of two ways. The path one, they'll get bitter. They'll blame the system. They'll blame timing. They'll blame everyone who didn't help enough. And then through all that, they'll stay stuck. Not because they couldn't move forward, but because resentment becomes easier than their responsibility. Or they'll take path two. They take ownership of things. Not in a loud motivational way, but in a quiet, more grounded one. They'll stop asking, why isn't this easier? And then they'll start asking, what can I do with what I have? And I feel like that's where the real growth will start to begin. And then you'll see a kind of shift in the way you do things. Just realize no one's coming to save you. It isn't just another sentence. It's more of a release to let you know that you make your decisions and your decisions really do affect everything. And it's only ever your fault after a certain point because you're making the choices. Because once you stop waiting, you stop feeling powerless. You don't need permission anymore. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to be rescued. You get to just build and slowly, imperfectly on your terms. And that's just a beautiful thing when you can take initiative like that. So let me say something to you. If you're watching this and you feel overwhelmed right now, it doesn't mean you're failing things. It just means you're standing at the edge of adulthood, which is, you know, very important. And your choices are going to really affect, your future decisions. And it may seem like, you know, the little things aren't going to matter as much, but those are the things that are going to carry so much more weight into going on into the future. You know, it's very scary. It can be very scary because you always want to stay safe and you always want to make the decisions that are going to push you to do your very best, obviously, always, but that can't be the case always. But just know it's all on you, and that's okay. You can always ask for help, but don't strictly depend on somebody else for, things like your happiness, like things like your goals. You have to make it happen yourself, which is perfectly fine. Things start to change when you accept this. When you accept that nobody's coming to save you, you stop wasting energy just waiting. You start building this kind of self-trust that you know that you can do anything. You take the smaller actions very seriously. You choose consistency over comfort. You don't suddenly become fearless, but you just become responsible. And responsibility builds confidence in a way that motivation can never do. The day you realize no one's coming to save you isn't the day that life gets harder, right? But it's the day it becomes honest. And honesty is where strength comes from. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you're finally willing to figure it out for yourself. So if you're in that moment right now, just take a deep breath because you're not alone and you're not doomed. You're just stepping into the part of life where you stop waiting and you start choosing. And that's where things really start to begin. So, yeah, I'll leave you off with that. Like the video, comment, let me know your thoughts. I appreciate y'all for tuning in.